So it's time to get back to 6.5 PRC. If you missed the last video, which was the first video with this cartridge, I stuck a couple cases in my full-length sizing die that came in my Redding Master Hunter set. So that Redding full-length sizing die, I've packaged it up and shipped it off to Redding. Now for the meantime, I picked up a Lee sizing die. They're inexpensive, so I went ahead and picked one up. So this is really the main topic right now. This is my main focus. This is what I care about. I want to full-length size a piece of 6.5 PRC brass successfully. I still haven't done that yet. Now, assuming that part of the video works and we've got some brass to use, I want to load up some more of the best load from the last video. In the last video, I shot 10 different bullets, 10 different powders. Really just wanted to try a bunch of stuff, and this was the best group from that video with a 0.69-inch group at 2,795 feet per second. We should have some room to move up with IMR 7977. We shot 55 grains, and the max load in the Sierra manual is 56.8. So we'll just slowly work our way up and hopefully shoot some more small groups. Same primer as last time, the Federal GM210M. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward there on the loads. Like I said, it's really all about this die. Now the first thing I'm going to do with this die is tear it apart and clean it. I did not do that to my Redding die. I made several mistakes with the Redding die, and that was the first of them. I didn't take it apart and clean it. I didn't use the lube that I had the most confidence in. And then after we stuck the first case in that die and we looked inside of it with the bore scope, like it was clear that there was a lot of brass in there. Like brass had smeared and galled, and instead of trying to clean that out myself, I went ahead and shipped it in. But I'd love to know what would have happened if I had done everything the way I know I should have, right? So here's our second opportunity. This Lee die, let's do this one right. Let's get it torn apart and cleaned. I'm not the biggest fan of these new Lee lock rings that they've used for the last couple years. And there's a little tool. There you go, lock ring wrench. I mean, I guess they're fine. I just hate anything that means another tool has to be laying around. Man, that one's tight. There it goes. So the Lee design, once you loosen that up, the pin should slide free. There we go. There's our decapping pin. Guess this thing's going to fight me a little bit more. There it goes. And we're disassembled. Got some high percentage alcohol here. I'm going to start with just a wipe down. Okay, so I'm done with the wipe down. So let's peek inside of this guy with the bore scope like we did in the last video. Not really looking for anything in particular, just wanted to see what the tooling marks looked like. And it's looking pretty smooth. Up here toward the shoulder, a little rougher perhaps. There's our vent hole. I love dies with vent holes. They're there so you know, if you get too much lube on your brass, it's got somewhere to go other than just denting your shoulders really bad. Up into the neck here. A little rougher looking up that way. So okay, like I said, not really looking for anything in particular, just wanted to, if anything, have this as a record of what it looked like when it was new. So for reassembly, what I'm going to do is take some Imperial sizing die wax. This is the same thing we're going to use for lube on the cases. And I'm just going to take a Q-tip and give this guy a good coating. All right, I think she's good and greasy. So this decapping and expanding rod from Lee is one of the coolest features they've got, right? If we have problems like we did in the last video with stuck cases, it's much easier to deal with here because you see how beefy this thing is. It's actually designed so that if you get a stuck case, you know, all you have to do is loosen up that collet and slide it off, and then you'll have this sticking out the top of the die, and you just pound it right out. And you can do that because it's built so beefy and it's got a nice surface. I'm trying to find a piece of brass without a primer in it. How about this piece of 6 arc that I chopped in half? I don't know if this will fit. Probably won't, but see down at the bottom, that's where it sits whenever you're driving it out. So pretty cool design. Hopefully we don't have to remove any stuck cases today, but if we do, it's going to be 100 times easier than it was in the last video. Now, I will say one downside of this is that there's no easy way to remove the decapping pin. So if you're shooting any brass with small flash holes that this standard decapping pin won't fit through, you're kind of screwed. I mean, I guess you could just cut it off. But shouldn't be a problem for us today. Trying to get my decapping pin height set about right. That looks pretty good. These can be a pain in the butt. It's easier to tighten up in the press. Okay, I think I got it. Looks about right. I guess we'll go ahead and use the Lee lock ring. So there it is, ready to size. And I'm sitting here debating, so the first pieces of brass I put in there, should I go ahead and just remove the decapping assembly so we don't have to worry about it? I'm not going to worry about it for, you know, the reasons I just talked about. Yeah, let's just roll with it this way. So for brass, let's start with these 8 pieces that were fired in my gun with this factory ammo. And I'm going to go ahead and lather these guys up with Imperial sizing die wax. Really heavy coat. And I'm going to make sure I get all the way down to the base. Because in that last video, it seemed like the base down here is really what was giving us the problems. I'm going to Q-tip a little bit inside the neck as well. All right, are we ready for this? Like emotionally speaking, are we ready? So the shell holder we used in the last video, I sent it off with the die because they asked for some brass in the shell holder. So this is a Lee shell holder. Just going to start with the shell holder making good contact with the die. Grab our little tightening tool. Don't really need it. You can usually get them tight enough without it. All right, say a little prayer. Please don't stick. That went in so easy. And down and out. Like way too much lube. I literally had lube squirt out of the vent hole. Wipe this off real quick. I think I got a big old shoulder dent as well. Yep, sure did. Just way too much lube, but that's fine. Yeah, not nearly as many signs of aggressive sizing like we saw. There's that big shoulder dent. No big deal. That'll fire form right back out. Let's run through the other 7 pieces of this Hornady. These are still over lubed. I'm just going to leave them over lubed. Just want to get some dies through there, right? Or get some brass through there. These are sizing like butter. Like this is not taking much force whatsoever. And they're feeling good. Okay, last one. Easy. Yeah, so this one piece that got the big dent was the only one. That was the first piece. Rest of them are fine. So that might have been whenever I was putting lube in the die. After I finished cleaning it, maybe I just left a big glob or something. I don't know, no big deal. So let's see what the headspace looks like. This is a fired piece. 1.645 is what we got in the last video. Pretty close. 1.644, whatever. I expect these sized pieces to be a good bit shorter than that. Holy crap, 1.643. That's just about perfect. So 1 or 2 thousandths of shoulder bump would be perfect. Next one's the same, 1.643. Next piece, the same. Yeah, these are all perfect. Will they fit in my gun though? That's a question. And my barrel is currently soaking. Hold on. Okay, no problem whatsoever. Goes right in. All right, before I go declaring victory too hard, I want to try a couple other types of brass. Here's some more Hornady. These are twice fired. Once is factory ammo, and then again in my gun after being neck sized. So I want to try 5 of these real quick, and then also our Nosler brass, which after my last video, Jim reached out and let me know that Norma does not make Nosler brass anymore. Nosler brass is made in-house. So sorry for passing around that bad info, but we've got some of the Nosler brass that has been fired in the last video, I want to try these as well. So 5 of each of these, and this time I'm just going to go with what I would consider my normal amount of lube rather than, going overboard like I did last time. Okay, we'll start with the twice fired Hornady. Just as easy as the other stuff. Okay, 5 for 5 with the Hornady. Here's the first piece of Nosler. Feels the same. So this Hornady brass that's been fired twice is a little bit longer, or the shoulder is showing about a thousandth less bump. Let me check the Norma. Yeah, and the Norma looks even bigger. Let me see if these will actually fit in the gun. Might need to crank that sizing die down a little bit more. Okay, this is the Hornady. That went in no problem. I want to check a couple pieces. Yeah, I'm not feeling any resistance whatsoever. So we'll call that good. Here is the Nosler brass. On that one I got a little bit of resistance. Nothing crazy. I can't really tell where it was making contact. Let's try another one. Same exact feel. Just feels a little bit tight. Okay, so I tested all 5 pieces of the Nosler and all 5 fit in that same well. They just feel like, they're well fitted. Okay, so I've pulled out 20 more pieces of the Nosler brass. We're just going to roll with the die setting where it is right now. I should probably get the old Chargemaster light warming up. I can't believe how easy this is going and how little force these are taken to size. Because there are a lot of problems in this cartridge that I've read about since I ran into my die issue. So even now that I've gotten to the point where I can full length size some brass, we might be running into additional sizing die problems once we get a couple firings on these. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Okay, so that's not supposed to happen. Oops. I just didn't clamp the collet down tight enough, like I was talking about earlier, how it can be hard to get tight. Should be able to put this back in the press. Try and do this without losing my die adjustment. Okay, I think we're back in business now. So I measured the length on every single one of these cases and they're all right about 2.020. The longest one I saw was 2.023 and max is 2.030. So these are consistent enough, I'm not going to worry about trimming them. They're consistent and they're short enough, I guess. So I pulled out the Frankfurt Arsenal Case Trim and Prep Center, going to hit the case mouths with a chamfer and deburr, and then the primer pocket, I've got a little primer pocket brush on here as well. All right, I guess we're done with the Lee sizing die. I'm going to use the Reading Competition Series Cedar from our Reading die set. So 2.950 is the overall length I'm after. The Sierra manual actually lists 3 inches, but that won't fit in my gun. I'm hitting the lands at about 2.970, so 2.950, about 20 thousandths off. I need to go down 88. Okay, that's exactly 88. I overshot it just a touch, 2.947, but that's perfectly close enough. Try the first couple here. See what they come out to. Seating very, very smoothly. Oh, you know what? I forgot to pull it out. I got the VLD seating stem for this die. Kind of slipped my mind. But the standard one's doing just fine with this bullet. We're not leaving any marks or anything like that. Got a couple that are 1 or 2 thousandths short and a couple that are 1 or 2 thousandths long. Now we're getting up to a pretty full case here with IMR 7977. These first couple rows, we've still got some leftover case capacity. Yep, even here in the last row, we're not compressed. Got a little bit more room for powder. And we're actually still a little bit under max, aren't we? So our max charge today, 56.6. The Sierra manual says 56.8. So we've still got some room to play around here on the top end with 7977. I need to get some more of these bullets, because these 25 are going to finish off this box, and I don't think I've got another box. Have to check and make sure. All right, let's get out to the range. Okay, so our target is at 100 yards. I've got my lab radar chronograph set up to gather velocities, and this is a Savage 110 Precision. I bought it as a 300 Win Mag and swapped in a factory Savage 6.5 PRC barrel. I normally use the Shot Marker electronic target system, but we're just going to do this one the old-fashioned way. Last week's video that I did on 300 Blackout with subsonics, the shot marker doesn't work with that. And that was really the first time I've shot without the shot marker in a while. And it was kind of nice, not having so much crap to set up, like dragging my laptop out here and stuff so I can record it and whatnot. So shot marker's not gone by any means, but I need to rethink the way I use it, I think. So I don't know, we'll see where that goes. But for today, we're rolling without it, which means I'm not going to know the group sizes, but I'll try to list them up above. So the gun is clean. There haven't been any fouling or cider shots. So we'll keep that in mind here on the first group. First group is 55.0 grains. This is the exact same load and setup that shot our best group in the last PRC video. All right, let's see what happens. I definitely should have taken the time to screw this sizing die down a little bit more and size these a bit more, because it's definitely a little bit harder than I'd like to get them in, and it's been harder than I'd like to get them out as well. So I think that shot that went high was our first shot, right? That was our cold bore clean barrel shot. And then the next 4 stacked right in there. That's not too bad. Yeah, there's one of those pieces of brass that's a little bit of a pain in the butt to get out. So our average velocity was 2803. That is 8 feet per second faster than it was the other day, or the last video with this load. So that's pretty close. Plus it's really warm today. It's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's good. Standard deviation 12.6. I do remember, let me look it up again. Yeah, last time our standard deviation was 34.3 with an extreme spread of 86. So we tightened that up quite a bit. So let's move on. Next up, 55.4 grains. Okay, that's not too bad. Velocity 2810, standard deviation 13.7. It's pretty calm. I'm getting some suppressor mirage. I'm going to take a break here for a few minutes, let things cool down. Okay, next up is 55.8 grains. I kind of reset my shooting position. I don't feel like I'm holding all that great today, and yeah, just did some rearranging. I'm hoping the hole to get a little bit tighter. All right, I think that's a decent group. I'm gonna have to go get my suppressor cover. Like, I had a good long break before that group, and by the second shot, I was already just dealing with a ton of suppressor mirage. It's just a little bit too calm today. Okay, let's try with the suppressor cover on. I don't think I mentioned the velocity on that last one, 2831, 8.7 standard deviation, so that's tightening up a little bit. We're getting closer and closer to that full case of powder. Maybe we'll see that velocity improvement continue. Let's find out. Next up, 56.2 grains. Well, that made it a little bit easier to see, but doesn't look like the group tightened up much. Velocity was 2867, standard deviation back up to 13.1. Okay, one more load to go, 56.6 grains. That is a really strange shift in point of impact. All the way back to the first group, except for the very first shot we took that went high. Everything else has been following a pattern of slowly rising point of impact, and then all of a sudden, we're dropping down low. That seems weird. Okay, so that group's just weird. The group itself is weird. The velocity dropped to 2855. Standard deviation was 9.5. That's all just weird. All right, let's get back to the bench. So as far as brass goes, there's not much to show you, but you might see some shiny stuff on some of these case heads. And these were the ones with the difficult bolt close, and the ones that were difficult to close were also difficult to open. So I didn't really see any issues with the brass that made me feel like we were about to have pressure problems. The little bit of primer cratering is normal with this bolt. So I think everything's fine, but I'll be interested to see in my next 6.5 PRC video whether or not this Lee die can size these enough and bump the shoulder enough to fit well in my gun. Because listen, so the sizing die was making really good contact with the shell holder, so we might not have much more room for adjustment. Now, one interesting thing I was thinking about this earlier, with this Savage, if you go back to my barrel swap video, I set the headspace in this gun pretty short, like right at minimum. So if I need to, I could go back and reset the headspace in this gun a little bit longer if I've just got it so short that no sizing dies are going to work. We'll see how it goes. My next 6.5 PRC video will be whenever the die comes back from retting. So hopefully at that point we'll have, a second sizing die that we can get working, and we can compare the numbers we get with each, and if they both end up having troubles hitting this minimum headspace number, then I'll just, like I said, I'll just readjust the headspace. So the groups from today were pretty good. I'm still a little bit confused by this last one and its weird drop in point of impact, but otherwise, pretty good stuff. There's a lot to work with here with 142 grain Sierra MatchKing. I have no doubt whatsoever we could dial in something really, really good with this powder and bullet combination. So for velocity, we made it up to 2867. We should be able to push that a little bit farther. Not sure if we could do it with IMR 7977, but just for comparison, the factory ammo right here with the 143 grain ELDX, I think we were just over 3,000 feet per second with that stuff. Yeah, it was 3,018 feet per second. So we're still lagging a little bit behind for this weight class of bullet, but not by much, and I'm pretty happy with the groups. So I think that's it. Extremely happy to have successfully sized some brass. I am out of these 142s, but I don't think I'm going to order any yet. Like, we'll keep this bullet in mind as a good one we can come back to But I've got so many 6.5 millimeter bullets that I'd rather just move on. Let's find the next good bullet. I've got lots and lots to choose from. So that's it for today, folks. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.